Madam Chair, Dr. Josephine Herman, Secretary of Health, Cook Islands, Dr. Corinne, WHO representative, heads of health from the Pacific Island countries and areas, our partners, colleagues and friends from partner and development agencies, media partners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, Nisambula Vinaka, and a very, very good morning to you all and welcome to Fiji. I've already said welcome, but let me say it's a pleasure indeed. On behalf of the government of the day, on behalf of the Ministry of Health and Medical Services, I'd like to once again acknowledge a very, very warm welcome to all of you, and indeed it's a pleasure for us to accommodate you here in Fiji, especially in our tourist town of Nadi. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful stay, as we Fijians are known for our friendliness and our hospitality. So please enjoy our Fijian hospitality, the food, and your stay here with us. First and foremost, please allow me to convey my appreciation to the Pacific community and the World Health Organization for this continuous support to the Heads of Health meeting, and as mentioned, the sixth Head of Health meeting here. From what I can see, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting plays a very crucial role in discussing and moving forward high-level public issues for the countries in the Pacific, and I am looking forward to the consolidated action plans and strategies that will be derived through this meeting, through your deliberations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to convey our sincere appreciation to all the partner agencies for their presence and interest in the strategic health issues of our region. So thank you all for being here, and I'd like to thank you all for the contributions that you'll be making in your deliberations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm welcoming you in times when my country has just gone through another natural disaster. We were just reeling back from the aftermath of DC Westin in 2016, and a couple of weeks ago, we have again been affected by severe flooding and cyclone, and our people are still trying to recover. As part of our government's effort in the recovery period, we stand by to support our fellow Fijians in times of need, and I'm sure the Pacific Islanders will share the sentiments because our experiences are no different from yours. And more than ever, we need forums like this. We need experts like you to advise us ministers as the best way forward in dealing with climate change, the severity of the storms, cyclones, and floods that we are experiencing. And from what I've heard and seen happening in Fiji over the last 3 years, I dread to think about how severe this climatic disasters could be and the impact it would have on our people. So, ladies and gentlemen, climate change, you and I all know, is real. Many may say climate change is not real. But for you and I in the Pacific, and for our partners and donor agencies who continuously work in ensuring that the health of our people is protected in times of this climate change is equally vital. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it now, no agenda is complete without health issues into that. So we need to prioritize health issues when it comes to climate change and mitigation. So ladies and gentlemen, in the health sector, like I said, we really need to be clear. We really need to be clear in the direction we are headed, especially for us in the Pacific Islands. I'm not sure I know climate change cuts across globally, but we in the Pacific are more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change because we and our people have experienced the impacts of this firsthand. And these experiences leave a very, very traumatic effect on our lives and makes our work as leaders at the government level, at the health ministerial level, pretty difficult in trying to counter the challenges that these disasters bring to our people. And of course, I stand here very proudly to say that Fiji, as the chair of the COP23, is trying to push this agenda forward. And in Bonn, Germany, we gathered with the world to find solutions on how to secure our future, how to secure the future of our people and the future of our future generation. That's very important. It's not only our future when you say it's actually the future of our future. That's very important. And of course, like I said, our future is not possible without good health. That's also very important. And again, health is fundamental, and especially for us as we are that vulnerable group. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe a key topic of discussions at the 12th Pacific Health Ministers meeting was actually identifying climate financing mechanisms to support regional initiatives on climate change and health. And a key recommendation of WHO Director General was to convene a global conference on small island development states with a special focus on climate change and health. And so to follow up on this last month, I co-chaired the Small Islands Developing States consultation meeting on the same WHO special initiatives on climate change and health, together with the Honorable Minister Glassi from Cook Islands. The meeting actually outlined 4 priority areas of work on climate change and health in the Pacific. Basically, we focused on empowerment, evidence, implementation, and resources. They are basically very, very important when we address climate change. So in terms of empowerment, we talked about supporting health leadership in the supporting health leadership to integrate health into national climate change planning and to engage in international climate change negotiations. When we talk about evidence, it's all about producing country profiles of climate change and health, describing vulnerabilities and adaptation options. Example, we're looking at morbidity and mortality attributed to unsafe water, unsafe sanitation, lack of hygiene, malnutrition, and disasters, just to mention some. When it comes to implementation, it's all about building climate-resilient health facilities, including the strengthening of governance and policy, integration of climate early warning signs with health information system, preventative and curative service delivery, and disaster-proof and smart healthcare facilities as a way forward. Again, resources. You and I all know many challenges are faced when the resources are not available. How do you fund these resources? So when we talked about resources in the meeting, we talked about facilitating access to climate and health financing mechanisms such as the Green Climate Fund and the Global Environment Facility for climate resilient systems of the Pacific Island countries. Indeed, a lot of discussions were generated by the participants in this meeting, and I'd like to thank them once again for their efforts in the consolidated Pacific Action Plan for the World Health Meeting special initiatives on climate change for the small island developing states. In this meeting, we also agreed to fast-track the process. It's very important to fast-track things. And we decided to fast-track the process so the action plan can be endorsed and be launched in a few weeks from now on at the World Health Assembly in May. So I hope and urge you to do the same, ladies and gentlemen, to put in your efforts, your expertise into this and work very closely with WHO for this goal. And it is important. It is important. Why we need to put in all our efforts? Because it's very important for our people. That's it. It's just important for our people. We need to put our people at the center of these things, and that's the reason why we need to treat this with more urgency. And at that meeting, we decided to do just that. And and I'm sure the agenda of your meeting this morning contains several topics that has already been discussed at the last Pacific Health Ministers meeting and other regional meetings. I'll just mention a few that I have had the opportunity to discuss with my fellow ministers in the Pacific. And one of the most important issues was that was raised at last year's Pacific Health Ministers meeting. Most of the discussions that the Pacific ministers had is mostly concentrated around the discussions that was part of the Yanuda Declaration in 1999. So we started this in 1999 and we're in 2018, very soon entering 2019. It's taken us that long. So that's why there's a need for sort of urgency and action to ensure that we meet those goals. Otherwise, it's all going to be all talk and talk and talk. I think the time for talk is gone. Okay? More so, we need action now. So the Pacific Health Ministers meeting that was held in Yanuda in 1999, one of which the ministers confirmed was to improve the delivery of health services to the people in their respective countries. This commitment is, I think, again registered in your discussion on the development of the role delineation policy and integrated people-centered health service delivery policies. I noted also that the Pacific Health Security Coordination Plan of 2017 and 2022, which was endorsed in last year's Pacific Health Ministers meeting, will also be further discussed by you during these deliberations. The benefit of this plan, ladies and gentlemen, should become very obvious as Pacific Island countries receive assistance in terms of strengthening access to international health regulations, capacities in more coherent and coordinated manner. I'm also very pleased, and I'm sure most of you would be pleased to see that the first report of the Pacific Monitoring Alliance for NCD Action, MANA, will be tabled. Our monitoring, evaluation, and learning framework is critical in assessing progress and guiding action. I don't need to remind the experts in the room about the crucial nature of NCDs that the Pacific Islands are faced with. And that also remains a top priority for any health discussions like NCDs in the Pacific. I think in case of Fiji, we are in the midst of our parliament session, and yesterday there was talks about how do we combat NCDs. As much as we put policies and as much as we put plans, my simple answer was that let's work on the mindsets of the people. It's about individual choices. And that should, I mean, for me, that's very important that my people become more aware of the fact that their health lies in their hands. Okay. Many a times we are faced with the difficulty about food, food security. It's not about food security, ladies and gentlemen. It's just talking about, on one side it's food security, and on the other side it's nutrition. And you look at NCDs. So you have food security. How do you balance it up? I mean, I was reading a report where we have stark. The reality is, on one side I have people who are malnourished, and on the other side I have people who are obese and overweight. How do you balance that? So availability of nutritious food, getting people to understand what nutrition means. It's just not about eating. I think those are the very basic things. If you can combat that, getting people to eat the right food, the right amount of food, the right type of food at the right time, that's very important. So those are the strategies we need to look at when we look at NCD or NCDs and stuff at the ground level. Of course, we have our plans and things, other mechanisms in place. So indeed, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Heads of Health meeting, and your responsibility is basically to advise your ministers and your government on the way forward, and I thank you for doing just that. And I'm sure that your ministers will be provided with clear guidance, advice, and support so that we are able to make informed and timely decisions regarding the health of our people. And of course, develop policies, options to address regional health issues of strategic importance. And I think combined, when we combine our knowledge, when we combine our expertise in forums like this, we have a better chance, one voice to take it up. Isolated discussions, isolated meetings, isolated plans and stuff may not work. Well, it may work for certain countries, but together I think we can definitely make a difference here. So today's deliberation, ladies and gentlemen, or any other deliberation where health issues are discussed by heads of health and senior experts, I think is a platform to help us strengthen the implementation of our own Pacific framework for health development and regional priorities identified in the Pacific Plan. Ladies and gentlemen, your support also nurtures a multi-sectorial approach in terms of addressing issues like NCDs, even CDs, that is affecting our nations. And through collaborative strategies and sharing of information and ideas, I'm sure we will be able to effectively tackle various health challenges that our countries face and our leaders face. Each country, ladies and gentlemen, will be able to commit to timelines, which is very important, at national levels to implement key recommendations of our NCD plans. Like, for example, in Fiji, sad to say, but our records show that NCDs account for almost 80% of deaths. And that's alarming. I'm sure you have your own experiences to share with, and we should be able to learn a lot from sharing. And age is no barrier to NCD deaths. And that's a reality as well. I mean, at one time, traditional thoughts would say, okay, if you were old, you'd have diabetes, you'll have high blood pressure, you'd die of stroke. But if you look at figures and stats and people presenting to our health facilities health experts and clinicians and doctors would say the ages are coming down. Okay? So again, that is also of an item that is of national importance, and we need to address that urgently as well. Ladies and gentlemen, lives of our children, men and women, disabled, old, alike are affected by health challenges. And when we talk about NCDs, I'd especially like you to focus more in NCDs, like we said, premature deaths. NCDs target, younger people are now more subjected to NCDs, simply because of lifestyles. Yesterday in Parliament we talked about advertising, the power of advertising. Yes, of course. We eat what appeals to us, right? We see something and it appeals to us. I'm not going to name companies and bodies, of course they'll sue me, but my point is, how do we counter that? That's the question. How do we counter that power of advertising with that of the health of our people? That's something I'll leave it to you. Think about it. How do you do? We make more laws and legislations. Of course, we need profits. So we have profit on one side, we have health on one side. What do we choose? We need both, right? So let's strike a balance, and I look forward for you to be engaged in discussions such as that. So ladies and gentlemen, like I said, at Fiji, here in Fiji, the Ministry of Health actually capitalizes on working with multi-stakeholders. We don't leave our CSOs behind. We don't leave our NGOs behind. We don't leave our faith-based organizations. We work with them because sometimes they have more reach out to our people than us. So it's very important that we work with the mindset of working with everybody. Okay, and of course, community engagement is also very important for us when we try to deal with issues, because we are trying to put people at the center of the things, and we cannot move forward if we do not put our people at the center of things. We need to understand their needs. We need to understand our communities. Communities living in rural areas, communities living in maritime areas, communities living in hard-to-reach areas, communities in urban centers. So there's a lot of things. We cannot have just one, one-shoe-fits-all approach. Okay? We have, in the Pacific Islanders, we are known to have, our communities have different needs. The diversity of our communities makes it very difficult for us. On one side, I always say, diversity should not be, I forgot what I said. I normally said diversity should be a unifying factor, not a divisive factor, you know. So we really need to address the needs of all our people, and that's why we need to actively engage with our communities. And some of these NGOs or development partners, the CSOs, the faith-based organizations, like I said, they have more reach into these communities. So it's very important to have them in our engagement as well. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please maximize the opportunity presented to you. Feel free to discuss issues that are pertinent to you. These forums are not easy to come by. There's a lot of preparation and planning to get all of you under one roof. So do make the best of that. And having said that, the Healthy Islands has proved to be an enduring vision for the health of our Pacific people. There was a review that was carried out in 2015. And this concluded that this vision of Healthy Islands can be enhanced, and far greater use of the vision could be made by all parties. It was recommended that developing a monitoring framework and reporting mechanism is essential for monitoring the progress of the vision. We can have a lot of frameworks, but if you don't monitor and if we do not provide timely feedback to our stakeholders, then of course it just becomes a piece of document gathering dust somewhere. We need to make all our documents living documents. That's very important. So, ladies and gentlemen, the framework we are talking about, the Healthy Islands framework, you're aware, was developed with several revisions and consultations around, culminated by its endorsement during the 12th Pacific Health Meeting in Rarotonga in 2017. And one of the key recommendations of that, ladies and gentlemen, was the data collection. Right? From the data collection round in 2017 was to actually modify the 4 indicators based on the guidance from the WHO programs. It was also recommended to establish a formal revision of the framework and to assess the feasibility of the electronic reporting to simplify and reduce currently heavy workload for data collection and reporting process. Again, we live in a very technologically savvy world. We need to capitalize on technology as well for the dissemination of information and reporting, of course. So Improvement of the National Health Information System was recognized as key to implementing the monitoring framework, and as such, this meeting will enable the nations to revise the strategies just on that. I believe the Healthy Island Nations vision should remain as the unifying vision for the health development in the Pacific, and I'm sure you'll work towards strengthening that. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, human resources for health is one of the critical foundations for achieving an enhanced health services, and you will agree to that, the challenges we face in terms of HR within our countries. A strong health workforce, of course, is vital to the achievements of global and national health targets. Building capacities on the existing staff that we have is also very important. Okay, inclusion of new curriculums. Going back to the curriculum that addressed the needs of our population 20 years ago, and looking at the needs of the population now, probably something for the institutions to look at. How well are our staff prepared to deal with the situation now? Decision makers, ladies and gentlemen, such as you and I, need robust evidence on which to base our decisions about how to respond to the changes I've talked about in the workforce. Each country may require its own combination of interventions to tackle stunting, reflecting each country's unique concept. We all are unique, but we share common problems. We may have common problems, but our problems need to be more localized. Okay? Each country needs to have that. And your 2 days meeting, ladies and gentlemen, will empower you to devise efficient programs and policies to enhance opportunities for the development of your human resources for health, which continues to be a challenge to most of us, if not all of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely look forward to the recommendations that we can use to continue to discuss and address these critical but very often crucial components of the health sector when we look at climate change and health. And with these words, I wish you the very best for the deliberations and look forward to seeing the active discussions among you, our leaders, in ensuring that we build a more healthy foundation for our population, and of course that's going to eventually lead to other prosperity and economic development. I thank you for your support always. There's a lot of familiar faces here I've seen in the last 2 years. I've been in this portfolio for 2 years with a lot of familiar faces. It's always a pleasure to see you, always a pleasure to hear from you. And again, if I may say, it's always a pleasure to have you in Fiji.